What makes the Asian continent strong and economic dominant among the continent? It is not their one use of currency across the entire continent. No. For a fact, out of the 48 countries in Asia, nearly use different currency across the nations. It is not because of their overpopulation. That also play a part, but that is not it. And also, it is not because the workforce is cheap. That also play a part, but that is not the problem. Now, what actually make Asia continent strong and economic dominant among other continents in the world and is the strongest in the world is because of their infrastructure, because of their produce, because of their human capital, because the ability to collaborate and cooperate. That is what makes Asia what it is today. That brings me back to Africa. I love my continent with everything in me, and I'm willing to continue this journey to see Africa become what it meant to be. We are the second most populated continent in the world. We have the number. Of course, number significantly shows that if you can turn it over, it can also equate the potential. We have the number, which is the population. We have the resources. We have the human capital. And we also have minds, brilliant minds. Now, what is our problem? Our problem is poor quality leadership. Poor quality leadership. What is actually happening today in Africa is that we are naturally blessed. I mean blessed. Is it natural resources? Is it in minds? Is it in human capital? But how to turn our minds towards those resources and bring it into full potential, productivity, and will serve the continent. That is where our problem lies. This particular message is for African Union. Yes, about almost all the countries are in that union. About 55 countries are in that union, right? Which simply means each of every country in Africa have the right of information in that union. One of the objectives of that union is to decolonize and also to bring peaceful cohabiting and development into the people of Africa. If the African Union can create a policy or make a liberatory stand that will caution people not to export our produce or not to import into any goods in the country, but however, bring an mind that I can turn each of every of our resources into produce that can serve the entire continent. How will we do that? Number one thing that we need to first of all do is to create a linkage between each of every African countries for good enterprises. Ability to have a seamless transaction from one country to another. Currency has never been an issue, but one thing that has been an issue in the nation is anonymity, disunity, not agreeing to simple terms. Our problem is not just because we overhave population. Our problem is that we need a directive. Leader that can have the interests of the people at heart. Leader that can be able to see the future of the entire continent. Leader that have a very far sight. Ability to see 10, 15 years. Today, African children are leaving Africa shore to other different parts of the world for greener pasture. Why? because no creation of job, and life, living a substantial or good life, become a threat. We have what it takes to make this country the best continent in the world. Let me also shock you. Do you also know that Africa is the poorest in economy in the world? Why is it like that? Here we produce nearly everything, each of every consumption, but our ability to turn those things into a raw material to bring our own use. Nearly each of everything that we use, each of every nation in Africa, we import them. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't. It is a duty of our leader to insert each of every of the federal universities across Africa continent and pick the best students and bring out different expatriates and experts of different countries to teach them how to turn their application, their theory, into practical based knowledge. I call it tacit knowledge. With that, we can actually have a substantial continent that is boosted and strong, continent that can stand and compete. That is a fact, and our leaders need to sit up and see from the perspective of the continent, the growth of the continent. That is all what we need. We don't need anybody, we don't need anyone. It is a thing of the mind. If those who are leading us are leading directly and good, the rest will follow.